at Tyler High School. We'll have him. But Roger Wallace, color analyst for UT football and does much more for UT and the radio network, joins us with Craig and David and also Paul Catalina. Roger, thanks for your time. It's an off day for you, as you mentioned earlier, getting into that football season mode. So when you see what UT is doing, they're obviously – a lot of people think very highly of them. We know we've been down this road before, but why this year, in your opinion, being around the team, is this year different than previous hype?
Yeah. Hey, David, good to be on. Thanks for having me. That's a good question because you're right. And I think everybody is optimistic. And then they remember that, as you said, they have been down this road several times. Just won 10-win season since they played for the national title. And Alabama won their first in this Nick Saban era. But I think a few things. You've got now a semi-veteran quarterback, second year with Quinn Ewers. You've got a stacked wide receiver room. But maybe more importantly, Dave, you got your entire offensive line back, including preseason All-American on the left side. So I think that's the reason on the offensive side. Defense, they held on to Jalen Ford, one of the top tacklers in the nation. They like what they have up front. So I think they just think the talent level under Sark has been elevated, and now these guys are a little bit older, and so I think they think they have the ingredients. But again, none of this matters until they go out on Saturdays. Probably that second Saturday will tell us a lot. Even if they lose in Tuscaloosa, it might tell us a lot.
Roger, a lot of this, over the years has been less about talent. I mean, so a lot of it's about talent development and the fact that it just didn't ever hit its peak. But a lot of it's been about locker room culture and the culture of the program and kind of getting some of the entitlement that the post-2009 crew came in with, where nobody had won anything, but they kind of felt like they were riding on the waves of all the guys who had. Do you feel that has changed being around the program, that Sark has been able to really point them in a direction of having to earn being a Longhorn great as opposed to just saying, I'm a part of the Longhorn football team. Look at all the great things that happened a long time ago.
They would like to think so, but I think it's all about this program has been through such a interesting ride for the last decade and a half that I don't think anybody really is too concerned about what happens between Sunday and Friday as far as how that, the culture and this and that compared to what did they do on Saturday. I get that those are the days that it happens. In the summer, it happens. But every camp they come in and say all the right things, they've never once said, I feel like this is really going to be a struggle this year. So all the right things are being said. For the most part, recruiting's been good. It dipped a little with Tom Herman at the end and with Charlie Strong. So to me, it's about putting the pieces of the puzzle together. 2 years ago, it was about losing leads with Sark, and then last year it was about two huge missed opportunities in their game against TCU and their game against Oklahoma State. They win one of those, both they led, and they're playing for a Big 12 championship. So now it's kind of all right. That next step, and it's the biggest cliche there is can they do it for a full game?
Roger, there's no quarterback controversy, but just in talking with folks, in and out of athletics and around Austin, do you hear more about Arch Manning or about Quinn Ewers?
Well, you hear more about Quinn Ewers, and that's the interesting thing to me, guys, is, you look at the Heisman odds, and I get it. Odds are based on gambling, and Texas is going to attract a lot of attention. But, to put Quinn Ewers as the 2 or the 3 or the 4th highest odds to win the Heisman, that's a pretty big leap from last year, but it kind of goes with the territory. So I think Sark is pretty confident that there is no issue at quarterback as long as he's healthy. And then, you got the Arch Manning factor, and I think they want to play him. I think they want to play Malik Murphy in the right circumstance. And then as soon as someone at Texas does something outstanding, the tidal wave is formed. And, the old offensive coordinator, Greg Davis, for so many years under Mac Brown, who as maligned as he was, offense did average over 50 points a game in 2005. But he would talk about those early season statue moments. A guy would have a great game in the non-conference, and they're ready to put up a statue for him. So, it's just a different world here with every little thing that happens, and it turns into a big thing.
Roger, they do lose Bijan, who was special. They do have a bunch of players, and they don't have running backs in the roster that aren't probably highly recruited 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever stars, talent with, Baxter's a freshman, Brooks and Blueback, Red, Robinson, and much more. Do they go by running back at committee, or is Jonathan Brooks going to get a big dose early and see how he handles it? Good question, David. I think Jonathan Brooks will get a bulk of the carries early, but I don't think Sark's going to have a problem rotating. Keelan Robinson is kind of that lightning element, and he brings a little bit different to the table. Baxter's big; he's a big freshman, and I think they like him. And you mentioned Jaden Blue; he's kind of that other guy, and maybe the number 4 back who's really talented. But I think it will be a little bit by committee. But I think they figure there's going to be enough touches to go around. They've had so many occasions the last couple of years where, it looked like they had an embarrassment of riches, and all of a sudden they get a little banged up, and, they're not so deep. So, I'm sure if everything works out perfect, I would think Jonathan Brooks, at least at the start of the year, he'll have to earn not getting more touches. If he struggles, then maybe that won't happen. But I think starting out, that's the guy they expect to be, he's not going to carry like Bijan or even like Roschon, but certainly I would say 12 to 15 carries a game.
Roger, do you think that this team is mature enough not to put a lot of eggs in that Alabama basket early on, to where, honestly, if they lose in a good game, it probably doesn't even matter for their long-term college football playoff goals if they go ahead and win the conference on their way out?
Yeah, that's true. And last year they went up in the rankings after the loss. To Alabama, some unusual circumstances in the fact that, Ewers got hurt and he had just completed a big ball over the top to Worthy, and then they don't get in the end zone and he gets blasted on that pass play. But I guess I would say, depending on what it looks like in Tuscaloosa, but sure, I think they've got plenty ahead of them on the schedule with enough quality teams in the Big 12 that if they get on a roll, then they're in good shape. Maybe not enough to get into the playoffs, depending on how things fall. But certainly, this team is not thinking playoff, guys. You know what? They want to leave the Big 12 at least with a chance to do what they did in their first year of the Big 12, and at least have a chance to play for a championship. Only done it once again since '09.
So last year was just kind of a weird year, it felt like, for Xavier Worthy, and they are loaded, pretty much like you said, everywhere, but especially at wide receiver with all they brought back. Isaiah Nayor's healthy. A.D. Mitchell, I've seen tons of him all over my timeline, and people, jacked about him transferring in. But what's kind of been the theme around Xavier Worthy, and just what was a very, up and down year for him a year ago?
I think they expect him to be that guy, but you're right. They're loaded. And it's funny, you went down the line, and I've been guilty of this too. No one mentioned Jordan Whittington. And, he's one of the toughest and when he's healthy, most reliable receivers. That guy that, he'll break a tackle. He'll do the dirty work. He'll block as well as you'll see from the wide receiver. But I think Worthy's a guy they hope can be a 65 to 75 catch guy. One thing they didn't do, guys, and I referenced Alabama, they didn't get over the top almost at all last year, minus that play in the Alabama game, and that led to the injury to Ewers because they didn't get the ball over the top into the end zone. So, Sark wants to take shots, and last year he got tired of empty shots. So I think that's where Worthy will come in, but also I think he's 100% healthy, which he wasn't the last part of last season. So we'll see. But you're right. Mitchell's a big target. Nayor's a big target. They got a couple of freshmen. Jonte Cook. I think they really like him in the way he's played in camp. So, the downside is, you guys know, they don't have even a scrimmage or anything against a different colored jersey. So even against Rice, I think people will be real interested to see what happens out there.
You hear about and see the tweets from Sarkisian whenever they get a commit, like big humans. And someone, a Texas fan who watches our show, even asked Paxton, said, why is it that they look so damn good, monstrous when they get off the bus, but there's always been something, or at least lately there's been something missing? They're getting even bigger, aren't they, with what they want to do as they enter the SEC next year?
Yeah, no doubt. the coincidence, A, that they're entering the SEC, and B, that starts where he most recently has been, and that's been in Alabama and in the NFL. So, those two things, big humans, running game, power running game, all go hand in hand. But you're right, and they're a little bit better not only because they're big, but Kelvin Banks is really good and just sophomore. Remember, he wasn't even an early enrollee last year. He came in the summer, so he didn't have a spring practice as well as his first training camp. And then, everybody's back, and they feel like they've got 2 or 3 guys that can rotate in where they won't lose a beat. So back to your first question, it all starts with the big humans on both sides of the ball, and they really like – you look at a guy like Byron Murphy, who's first team All Big 12, and he only started, I believe, 1 game last year. So, that goes to projection as much as production on what he has done. And Sark said he's been tough to deal with throughout training camp. So we'll see. We could play these conversations back the last however many years, and they'll all probably sound a bit similar. And then we'll see what happens 12 games in.
Roger, great to hear from you. Great to have you on the show. Thanks for your insight. Appreciate your time and what could be a special year. We'll see and probably know a little bit early, even if it's a win or a loss. Well, if it's a win, then you know that everything goes full throttle. If it's a loss, it's close like it was last year. Who knows? Thanks for your time. Roger Wallace, color analyst with Craig Way on the UT broadcast of football with us on 365 Sports. Used to work with him and Tyler back in the day in the 80s.